Hey y'all, Dixie here. I recently went to Flagg Mountain here in Alabama to visit with the fella who currently holds the record for the oldest person to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail, which many of you know as Nimblewill Nomad. I sat with him for a while and interviewed him for an episode of my podcast, Off Trail with Dixie, so if you want to see that full interview, I'll link to it in the video description of this video. But one of the things I wanted to talk to him about is how I can someday break that record. I know it's a ways off. I'm only 40 years old, so I probably have at least 50 years to go before I can even attempt it.
Sure you want to tell people that?
Yeah, I want to break the record one day.
No.
How old I am? Yeah, 40 and a baby on the way.
Well, you're 23. Just go ahead.
That's right. That's right.
Nimblewill Nomad was 83 when he broke the record back in 2021, and he actually got a lot of bonus points, bonus miles, and hiked from Flagg Mountain, so walked out his front door more or less, and went on what he called the trip from Bama to Baxter, which Baxter State Park is where the final summit, if you're going northbound, Mount Katahdin is. And he wanted to do that because Flagg Mountain is the first little hump, if you will, in the mountains of the Appalachian chain of mountains. Anyway, I was trying to do some field research and find out what can I do to prepare to break that record someday. How can I take care of myself for the years to come? Because it's never too early to start planning.
What is the trick to your mind and body still being able to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail in your 80s, 90s, 100s? Because like most people that age cannot do that.
And when you mention to folks what an incredible physical challenge it is, so folks assume that that's the ultimate part of the challenge, and it isn't. It isn't, and you know that.
No, it's, yep.
There it is.
Yeah.
And if you get your head right, you can make the physical part of it work. And
Okay.
basically that's the secret to it. You've heard the old saying, everyone's heard this old saying, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have took better care of myself. So
Yeah. But you
what does that explain? That explains that I haven't put out any particular effort or initiative in my life to get to the point where I'm living with the health I have now.
Okay.
I've just been blessed.
But the problem is, by the time I get my chance, I'm probably going to have to be at least 100 years old, because you see, Nimblewill Nomad broke the record of Graybeard, who was 82 when he set the record, but he is now currently, as I record this, in the process of breaking Nimblewill Nomad's record, and Graybeard is now 91 years old. He's set to knock it out here in a couple of weeks, so as you can see, it's getting farther and farther in the distance.
I think my lifestyle has had an awful lot to do with the fact that
Right.
I've lived as long
You
as
just
I have,
keep
because I've
moving.
been active.
Right.
When I had my practice, I used to run. I would run 50, 75 miles a week
Wow.
just to get out, to just an escape mechanism to get out again, to be quiet, and the exercise stimulates all your cells, all your thoughts, and all your feelings.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that had an awful lot, just my lifestyle has had a lot to do with the fact that I'm still here. I'll be 88 this fall.
So are you going to give it 5 years and get back out there?
Took you a while to get up to that question, didn't it?
I'm sure you hate that one just as much as the other one.
He's also cut his pack weight down substantially.
I carried one of those old external frame packs. The pack weight's 6 pounds.
Yeah.
My dry pack weight now, it's 3 season. That would be, I'm good down to freezing around.
Really?
And I can be out in the freezing rain and the snow, and I'm good. But it's tight 3 season gear. My dry pack weight now without food and water is less than 5 pounds.
Oh my gosh. Well, I need to come do a pack shakedown with you
Well,
then.
Since he started hiking, he really hasn't stopped. He lives a very active life, and even if he's not all the time out on trail, he has some kind of project that he's bebopping around and doing. In fact, right now at Flagg Mountain, he and Chuck Norris and Tigger have quite the vision going on and actually boots on the ground making some things happen. First, they already have established the Southern Comfort Hikers Hostel on Caperton Ranch. Some of y'all who have done the Pinhoti Trail may be familiar with Caperton's store, and Mr. Caperton and Nimblewill Nomad have had a long running relationship since Nimblewill Nomad came through the first time and stopped by that store for a little refuel as he was kind of blazing the Eastern Continental Trail one of his trips. So Mr. Caperton has more or less gifted this 100+ acres of land, this plot that is right there on the Pinhoti Trail. And actually now you can detour and go around it and stay on the Pinhoti, and it's, I think, 2.1 or 2 miles. And if you instead go by the hostel and visit with Nimblewill Nomad or choose to stay there, it's either 2 or 2.1 miles. So it's only 0.1 difference depending on the route that you take. And it's a pretty minimalist stop. From what I understand, it's currently donation based, but they're looking to develop some more things out there and make it more outdoors friendly, not just for the people who come through on the Pinhoti Trail, although that would be a wonderful stop if you are through hiking the Pinhoti or section hiking. They really put a lot of work into cleaning out this old structure, basically gutted it and have rebuilt it, and the hostel is already in existence. They're working on building up some other stuff on the property that'll make it more desirable to other outdoor enthusiasts, not just Pinhoti thru-hikers or section hikers, but it would definitely be worth a stop through, whether you're through hiking, section hiking, or heck, even day hiking, whatever, if you're not going to stay or if you are going to stay. They've got a pond out there. It's just a really nice, peaceful property. But the project that they currently have their sights set on that really touched my heart is what they're calling...
What is the official name of it?
Well, it can't survive. But what I'd like to call it is Hiker Trash Old Folks Home.
That's what it was. Hiker Trash Old Folks Home. Yeah.
And Nimblewill Nomad is basically wanting some kind of plot for the people who have traded possessions and their homes and materialistic things for experiences. Those that have been blazing trails for decades, and that's really become their home. They move around seasonally, they stay on trail, but once they get older and they're living on Social Security, it's difficult to find a place to stay and kind of continue that being in touch with nature type lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to, and really that is all they know. And they end up in some community home, best case, where they're playing bingo with other residents and they're absolutely miserable because there's not a blade of grass in sight. So Nimblewill Nomad is really focused on building some minimalist cabins on this property where these older folks who are in the backpacking community can go to kind of relax their bones. They can still live a minimalist lifestyle that they're used to in nature on 100+ acres right near the Pinhoti Trail, stay connected to the trail, but it's not like an assisted living. They've got to be able to take care of themselves. And he said that the fitness test will be, can they climb the stairs up to the cabin? And if they can, they're good to stay. But they've got a 501c3 nonprofit organization built up around this. So if you feel moved to contribute to this project, all of the proceeds go to the project. Also, if you live in Alabama, I know that they could use some help with building, and I've asked them to let me know when they start construction on the cabins. And Nimblewill Nomad said, in old days, they used to have folks come together and build a home in a day, like community. So he said that's what he wants to do, is have the community come together and build one cabin in one day. And the budget for the cabins, because they've got access to the lumber that they need from the land, they've got access to pine after pine after pine, the budget per cabin will be just under $100. Anyway, I'll put a donation link in the video description, so if you'd like to help out with that, that's where you can do it. So anyway, back to my goal of trying to be the oldest person to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail someday. what am I going to do to try to get there other than just cross my fingers and hope I make it to a ripe enough age to attempt it? Now, I know that there are some folks who are out there and thinking, Dixie, I'm going to eat the sugar that I want to. I'm going to live my life and have a good time and not stress about all this stuff. Like, you're too obsessed over being healthy. Sure, there is a level that I feel like is obsessive, but I don't think I'm there. I really enjoy longevity and health topics. It's fun to me. I am very serious. I would love to be able to be the oldest person to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail someday. And while some of us, like Nimblewill Nomad, can be like, I've just not really done anything special, and it worked for him, not everybody can do that. We don't all have the same genetic makeup. Our bodies don't respond to everything in the same way. And considering my family history, my biological father died of a heart attack at age 32. I'm trying to dodge all the genetic bullets that I can. I've already had some weird things pop up with my heart. I have a high ANA titer indicating autoimmune disease and have had some preliminary symptoms of that. So instead of just stressing about the things that I cannot control, I really am trying to focus on the ones that I can. And to me, that's a healthy way of going about things. So I may do all of this stuff and I still die before I ever get the opportunity to try to be the oldest person to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail. But I know that I'm going to feel a whole lot better, and I'm going to be able to be more active and adventurous and enjoy the years that I do have left. I want to go out enjoying it to the last drop if possible. One thing Nimblewill Nomad emphasized in our conversation is that backpacking and thru-hiking really boil down to the mind, the mental fortitude, because even when you have physical ailments on trail, that's not what stops you. It's you get in your head. You let the challenge eat away at you, and a lot of folks are not able to mentally overcome that. So I want to keep working on my mental fortitude and keep it at least where it's at, maintain, if not make it stronger throughout the years. So in general, I need to keep my brain in good health. And one of those things is maintaining and hopefully continuing to improve my mental toughness. Throughout the years, as I've kind of gotten on a longevity kick, I have paid attention to how I might increase my BDNF. And that's brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which in layman's terms could be described as miracle grow for the brain. So some of the ways that you can increase your BDNF in your brain, which relates to mental toughness, is exercising, eating well, living a healthy lifestyle, getting sunlight, etc. So with diet specifically, one of the things that they've seen increases BDNF is eating blueberries. So pretty much every morning I have a handful of blueberries, whether I put it in some Greek yogurt or just eat them as a snack mid-morning, but focusing on at some point getting blueberries in me each day. With exercise, obviously any exercise and moving your body is good, but specifically exercises that make you have to kind of focus or work hard to maintain. So planking, for example, is one of the exercises that has been found to increase BDNF the most. Also exposing your body to controlled stressors like cold plunging, or it's kind of, from what I've seen, up in the air right now if cold plunging is as beneficial for women as men, but even doing things like not a full cold plunge, but when you're taking a hot shower, the last minute or so, or whatever you can work your body up to, turning the water temperature to cold. Just doing things like that that kind of shock your system and you have to fight through. They're not necessarily enjoyable, is a good thing for your brain. Sauna, which thankfully I absolutely love, so it's probably not as good for me as the cold showers. But again, those external controlled stressors that you can put your body through will help your brain. Taking the harder path. Stairs versus the elevator. Everybody knows that the stairs are better for them, but oftentimes we push the button, or like 98% of people will push the button and take the elevator because it's the easy route, the least resistance. So trying to focus on those little decisions, more resistance, park farther away from the grocery store door on purpose. And then stepping outside of your comfort zone, whether that's continuing to learn new skills or public speaking or whatever makes you uncomfortable, is good for you. Mental exercises is another way to strengthen your brain and to make sure you're neurologically sound as you age. I have been doing this exercise, and I don't know how much science is truly behind it, but I know that it's a struggle for my brain, and I feel like if it's a struggle, then it's a good thing, right? So you lay your hands flat on a surface and you do it to like a beat of a song or something like that, but basically your fingers are dancing. So you start with thumbs, pinkies, and then pinky thumb, pinky thumb, pinky thumb, but you do it to the beat of a song. So you've got to like keep a certain rhythm. And yeah, I don't know why. This one, I'm good, but this one is a struggle and has been one that I've been working on. So just all of those mental games that you can play with yourself, changing the way that you drive home in a day or switching up a routine, all of those things that kind of make you be mindful and in the moment are good for your brain. Next, I want to continue prioritizing sleep. And it's kind of funny, this stage of my life with a toddler who is almost 2 and still doesn't sleep through the night. But my husband and I have worked on rotating nights on baby duty, who's getting woken up, and we have another one on the way that I'm hoping will be a good sleeper. But prior to this particular stage, and hopefully after it, I can focus more and more on better quality sleep. But on the nights that I do get to rest, I try to focus on that natural circadian rhythm to help with my sleep. So that includes early morning sunlight. Also in the evenings, instead of being under bright lights in your house, especially where we've got all these LEDs and different things like that, dimming the lights, lowering the lights, turning more lights off if you can, or even better, having amber or red lights in the house, having it a cooler temperature when you sleep. There is so much information about sleep hygiene and ways to improve your sleep that if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it's a deep one. And then finally, I take magnesium glycinate before I go to sleep because apparently a lot of people are magnesium deficient these days, but it is shown to help you sleep at night, help you get better sleep. So I take it before I go to bed, 200 to 400 milligrams. So that's most of the mental stuff, but physical is obviously important. If my body is not able to move and to go at 100 years old, or hopefully like 95, then I can have the best brain ever, but I'm not going to reach my goal. So the first thing I think is important, and what Nimblewill Nomad has shown he has done, is continue to move. A body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest wants to stay at rest. I want to continue to exercise. Studies have absolutely shown that weight training is vital in maintaining muscle mass, which apparently we lose at 3 to 8%, potentially a decade after a certain age. And bone density. Weightlifting is so important for bone density, which is something else that we typically lose over time. Stability, mobility, flexibility, and balance. And then also grip strength, which that's easy to do while you're at home, at least, with hanging, dead hangs, or farmer's carries with heavy weights. And then when you're on trail, you can do things like squeeze a tennis ball if you're going to be out for a long hike. Cardio is important, and forever I have just despised cardio, but one of my favorite podcasts is Diary of a CEO. And I've listened to a couple of different podcasts with Rhonda Patrick, who swears by the Norwegian 4x4. And it will absolutely kick your butt. Basically, you can get on a bike and ride as fast as you can while being able to maintain 4 minutes at that speed. And then you go pretty much barely pedaling for 4 minutes. And you do that 4 different times. But this exercise alone has just shown to basically be able to rebuild the heart and reverse aging in the heart and the structure and just cardio health. Obviously, it's something that you want to start slow at. You don't want to overdo it if you're especially not in very good shape. But I was focusing on doing this before I got pregnant and then hit morning sickness and yada yada. So it's something that I definitely want to pick back up once I have the baby and I'm, at an okay place postpartum to start something like that again. And then there's also zone 2 cardio, which is really good for mitochondria and helping produce higher quality mitochondria that are good at burning fat and glucose. But it's basically 70% of your max heart rate. In zone 2, you should be able to say a complete sentence, but you don't necessarily want to carry on a conversation. But again, zone 2, another rabbit hole you can dig into. Something that I definitely want to focus on for myself too, to make sure I can potentially be the oldest person to thru-hike the AT one day, is regular tune-ups. I feel like that is so important for our bodies. If you have something that's nagging you, oh, this elbow or this knee or this whatever it is that's been nagging me for years, don't let it get to that point. If you have some kind of thing that seems to be not resolving itself, go in and get the physical therapy. Go get the massage therapy. Those little aches and pains can not only get worse with time, but they can cause other issues in the chain because you're favoring one side or the other, one body part or the other. So that's something that I really have focused on throughout the years. Well, since I started taking care of myself better anyway, is getting the tune-ups and working out the kinks and doing what I need to do to resolve those issues. So I've always tried to focus on listening to my body on trail, not overdoing it, not ruining a thru hike over trying to keep up with other people, etc. So as I age, what that may look like is I need to take more breaks during the day. So maybe instead of taking one long break in the morning and one long break in the afternoon, I take many shorter breaks. Or maybe I finally have to start getting up earlier, or whatever that is. But realizing that we have to continue listening to our bodies, and that may change over time on trail. I think it's something that I need to be open to. Next, I need to pay better attention to my habits on trail. And this is something that I've actually made videos about recently, focusing on my posture when I'm on trail, specifically my technique of walking uphill and downhill and making sure that I'm doing that properly. I've had terrible posture my whole life. I've fought that for years. It's something that, especially on trail, I really need to be more serious about. And also breathing through my nose more so than my mouth on trail. I noticed that I'm a terrible mouth breather, probably in everyday life in every aspect, but especially on trail. So that is something that I would say in the last year or so I've tried to pay more attention to, and I even wear mouth tape when I sleep at night now. Eating healthy. This is something that y'all have heard me go on and on about for several years now. And this is both off and on trail. I've really focused on whole foods, eating cleaner, and more of a paleo primal type diet. And I've noticed a huge reduction in inflammation in my body throughout the years. I understand that there's not one end all be all diet that works best for everybody in the world, whether that's because of medical things or moral things, whatever. You have to find what works for you. Limit sugar. Sugar has been known to cause insulin resistance, which is a precursor for type 2 diabetes. And it's been known to cause plaques to build up in the brain, which can lead to neurological issues like Alzheimer's. And studies have even shown that sugar just ages us more quickly. Regular labs. This is something that I have not done a super great job of, but that I want to continue to do better on going forward. There's a book by Dr. Ken Berry called Common Sense Labs, and he is a general practitioner who created a book saying these are the labs that I think that you should have done once a year. And if your primary care physician won't prescribe them, there are services you can go online and order them yourself. I went through Dr. Says to have some of my stuff done through LabCorp, but there are ways to have it done, and he kind of lists the ones that he thinks are important. And some of the things that you should be monitoring as you age, if you want to continue to be able to move like I do, then paying attention to hormones, catching metabolic disease before it gets serious, etc. Those are things that I think are important to look for. And instead of waiting till you have a terrible issue, you can kind of see the red flags as they start popping up. Stress management. Being in green spaces definitely helps with anxiety, depression, but not all of us can be out on a day hike every single day. Walking in your neighborhood is better than taking no walk at all, getting some fresh air. But even things like meditation, that's something, again, that I've ebbed and flowed on that I need to get better at. But one thing that I have focused on as I feel myself having stressful moments throughout the day, I try to do 4-6 breathing. So inhale, 4 count, exhale, 6 count. This can help calm the body and slow the heart rate, which what's better for you in a stressful moment. Reducing toxins. This is something that I have been working on for years. And I think that this is something that can help a lot with hormonal imbalances or making sure that your hormones are staying balanced, because things like phthalates and parabens and plastics, all of that stuff can act as endocrine disruptors in the body. So some of the things that I've swapped, instead of the non-stick cookware, we use stainless steel cookware and cast iron. Even our cooking sheets. I've reduced phthalates and parabens in a lot of my products that I use. So laundry detergent, body wash, face wash, body lotions, etc. Anything that your body or skin comes in contact with. So for this, I started off on the EWG website, which is not always perfect, but if something's EWG verified or a lower chemical risk on that website, I think you're headed in the right direction. And then reducing plastics in general. So like I said, the stainless steel cookware, utensils, reusable drinking receptacles like stainless steel or a glass mason jar, just reducing plastic everywhere that you can as much as possible, even in clothing. So focusing on cotton clothing, linen, wool, etc. I'm not suggesting that you go out all at one time. It can be super overwhelming when you first start looking at this stuff, but just a little at a time, replacing as you buy a new shirt, make sure it's cotton, just over the years, this is something that you can transition into. If you're interested, that's what I've been doing. So I'm doing a pretty good job off trail, but the next thing I need to do is work on reducing my plastics on trail. And you can learn a lot more about reducing plastics if you're interested in the documentary Plastic Detox on Netflix. And I know there are probably several of y'all watching that are like, Dixie, you're absolutely crazy. Like, this is too much at one time. But all of these things, the exercise, the taking care of your brain, the clothing changes, the product changes. As you run out of something, replace it with something better. When it's time to get new laundry detergent, already look at and do your research on what you want to get and order it next. I'm not suggesting you go throw away what you currently have. When you shop for produce and meat, get the best source stuff that you can, one product at a time. Like if you use a lot of lettuce, focus on the lettuce first. But again, it's just one little bite at a time. I'm not suggesting you eat a whole elephant at once. And in fact, this is just stuff that I'm wanting to do. And yes, I would love it if everybody else in the world would do it too and take care of themselves. So anyway, that's my plan. I'm going to work on sticking to it. I'm going to work on continuing to improve and do better and better. One little step at a time, just like a thru hike. So anyway, that is all I have for y'all today. If you have any other suggestions of things that you think would be good to do to make sure that maybe someday I can actually reach this goal, feel free to drop those in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching. And a special thanks to my friend Nimblewill Nomad and Chuck Norris for making that meetup possible. I really had a good time. And make sure you check back in next week because I'll be coming to you from Yellowstone. And we'll see y'all next time.